This happened a few weeks ago. I'm 34 and I've been traveling alone, blogging about unique spots for a while now. I thought I knew what to expect on this trip. I've never stopped thinking about it. I was driving along a winding coastal highway when I noticed a small roadside stand. It looked old and worn, like it hadn't been touched in years. My curiosity got the better of me, so I pulled over. An old woman stood behind the counter. Her eyes were piercing. She sold trinkets, odd little things I had never seen before. When she handed me a weathered map, I felt a chill rise up my spine. She smiled in a way that made me uneasy. I took it, maybe just to be polite. The first stop was a lighthouse that was said to be haunted. When I got there, the lights flickered. I stepped closer, feeling drawn to it. A chill crept through me, like something or someone was pushing against my back. I looked around, but nobody else was there. Out of the corner of my eye, I thought I saw shapes moving in the shadows. My heart was racing. After that, I followed the map to a ghost town. It felt abandoned yet familiar. I could swear I saw faces that looked just like mine. It was unsettling. Maybe I was just tired, but it felt like I was slipping away from reality. The wind picked up, whispering in my ears. I couldn't make out the words, but it was unnerving. Then I found a diner that was supposed to be quirky. As I walked in, everyone turned to stare at me. Their faces were blank. It felt like I stepped into an old horror movie. The waitress just stared when I tried to order. My voice trembled and I felt cold all over. I didn't stay long. I rushed back outside and the bell above the door jingled like it was warning me to leave. Everything began to blur together. I was sure I was being watched. The map slipped from my hands. I didn't even remember where I had left it. I didn't know if any of this was real. Did I imagine those faces? I felt like I was falling apart, losing my grip. Then the final encounter hit me hard. I ended up back at that roadside stand. The old woman was gone, but the trinkets were all there, untouched. Panic surged through me when I realized the map was missing. I spun around, desperate for answers, but I was alone. I wasn't sure if I had ever seen her in the first place. Why did I even stop? I thought. I turned to leave, but felt a presence behind me. I spun around. Then I heard it. A whisper. You shouldn't have taken that map. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. I couldn't move. I just stood there, staring into the empty stand. The only sound was my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I wanted to scream, but nothing came out. That map felt cursed, and it was too late now. I didn't know how to escape the feeling that something dark was still watching me. I stumbled back, my eyes darting around the stand. The air felt thick, as if the very atmosphere was alive. I barely made it out before my brain caught up with my feet. I needed to get away from that place. I jumped into my car and slammed the door, hands shaking. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. The map was gone. That was all I could think about. My mind raced through what little I remembered of it. Memories felt jumbled, like static on the radio. Had it really shown me the way, or had it led me into a trap? As I drove, I glanced nervously in my rearview mirror, half expecting to see the old woman or something else following me. But the road was empty. I turned the music up, hoping to drown out my thoughts. It didn't help. I had to stop. Somewhere safe. I found a gas station a few miles down the road. It looked much more normal than the diner. I parked and walked inside, the bell above the door ringing more cheerfully than I felt. The clerk was a young guy, probably in his 20s. He looked at me with a mix of curiosity and concern. "You okay?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "Yeah, just a weird day," I replied, forcing a smile. He nodded, but I could tell he didn't believe me. I moved to the back where they had a small shelf with maps. I needed a new one. I rifled through them, but all I could think about was the road I had taken earlier. I squinted at one that seemed similar to the one I'd lost. My heart dropped as I picked it up. That's when I noticed something odd. The familiar outlines on the map. But why were there marks that seemed to point to places I had already visited? The diner, the ghost town, the lighthouse. It felt like it was taunting me. "Hey, what's that?" the clerk asked, peering over my shoulder. Just a map I found, I said quickly. He leaned back, the concern deepening. You might want to stick to the main roads. Those old trails can be dangerous. Dangerous? Yeah, sometimes people get lost out there. Crazy things happen, stories of folks disappearing. He paused, studying me. Just make sure you're careful. I gulped, the unease creeping back. When I left the gas station, something in my gut told me to avoid revisiting those places again. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling that I had to know more. What were those marks? Was it all just in my head? Then I heard it again. The whisper. It seeped through the cracks of my mind. You shouldn't have taken that map. Grinding my teeth, I slammed my car door. I needed to figure this out. I had to find the source of those whispers and confront whatever was happening. The unsettling weight of my decision settled in as I pulled back onto the highway. I suddenly felt sure of one thing. The map wasn't done with me yet. I drove on, my heart pounding, the road stretching out ahead like a question waiting to be answered. And then, as I turned a sharp curve, I saw something in the distance that made my breath hitch. A lone figure standing near the road's edge. Who was it? As I got closer, I could see the figure more clearly. It was a woman, her long hair flowing in the wind. She wore a white dress that looked out of place against the dull asphalt and the backdrop of pine trees. My first instinct was to drive past, but curiosity gnawed at me. I slowed down, my breath hitching again. There was something about her. She seemed familiar, but I couldn't place why. Maybe it was because she was standing in an area that felt charged, as if the very ground was charged with memory or something darker. As I rolled to a stop, she turned her head slowly. Her eyes locked onto mine, and I felt a chill run down my spine. I opened the door slightly, half prepared to ask if she needed help. "Are you okay?" The words tumbled out, almost against my will. Her lips curled into a slight smile, but there was nothing comforting about it. "You shouldn't be here," she said softly, her voice wrapping around me like fog. "What do you mean?" I asked, even though every instinct in my body screamed at me to drive away. "There are places you shouldn't go, roads that lead to nowhere," she continued, stepping toward my car. "You've seen them, haven't you? The marks on your map?" I opened my mouth, shocked that she knew about it. "How do you—" "I know more than you realize," she interrupted. "You need to listen. The map is a lure. It calls to you. You're not the first to follow its pull." There was a flicker of something in her eyes. Fear? Anger? The ground beneath me felt unstable, like I was floating. "What happened to them?" I whispered, suddenly aware of how real the danger might be. "Those who follow it too far. They never return," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "It's not just a map. It's a pyramid of tangled paths, leading to darkness." Darkness? The question barely left my lips when I heard that familiar whisper again, clearer this time. "You shouldn't have taken that map." I jerked back, the horror washing over me. The woman's gaze turned intense, almost desperate. "Listen to me. You have to turn around. You have to." Just as I was about to respond, the ground shook slightly, and I realized it wasn't my imagination. A low rumble echoed in the distance, causing the trees to sway. The woman's expression shifted from urgency to something else. I couldn't tell if it was fear or resolve. She extended her arm, pointing down the winding road. "They're coming. You don't want to be here when they arrive." My body felt heavy, rooted in place by uncertainty. Should I trust her? Every instinct said I had to leave. But something inside demanded I stay, to learn more about this map and what was truly happening. Then, in a wild moment, she turned and began to walk away, her form fading with each step, swallowed by the shadows creeping in from the tree line. The engine of my car rumbled softly, urging me onward, urging me to flee. But I hesitated. That's when I saw movement from the corner of my eye. Shadows darting through the trees. They were coming for me, just like she said. What had I stumbled into? With urgency flooding my veins, I slammed the door shut and turned the key in the ignition. But as I looked back, I only saw the empty road ahead, no sign of her, just whispers in the wind. And I knew then that things were about to get much worse. The engine roared to life and I pressed the gas, desperate to escape whatever darkness was lurking behind me. I glanced in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see the woman or those shadows. Instead, the road was empty, and a thick fog began to rise, blanketing everything in a haze. I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that clung to me. I threw the car into gear and sped forward, but the road twisted and turned unnaturally. Each bend seemed to pull me deeper into unknown territory. It was almost as if the map was steering me, not just to a location but to a moment in time. What did she mean by road to nowhere? I muttered to myself, my mind racing. The air outside thickened, and I felt suffocated by the weight of it. I had to think. I had to remember. That map had shown markings that seemed almost random. Intrigued, I had ignored the warnings tucked away in my gut. Now I questioned everything. My grip tightened around the wheel as I tried to recall more details. Maybe there was something I was overlooking. Then I noticed a flicker of light through the fog ahead. My heart quickened. It could be a gas station, a diner, even another person. With nothing but darkness around, each possibility felt like a lifeline. I couldn't turn back now. I had to find help. I pressed on, following the glimmers of light, but as I got closer, my gut twisted more. The light was coming from a dilapidated building that looked abandoned. The windows were shattered, and the door hung on its hinges, creaking while swaying in the wind. Even from the car I could feel something was off, but I needed answers. Maybe someone else is here, I whispered, half trying to reassure myself. I threw the car into park and stepped out, my breath hitching in the cold air. The fog seemed to absorb the sound of my footsteps as I approached the building, every creak of the wooden floorboards beneath me echoing in the eerie silence. I pushed the door open wider and it groaned as I stepped inside. The beam of my flashlight cut through the darkness, illuminating peeling paint and a layer of dust covering everything. Old furniture lay scattered around, a table, an empty shelf, and a pile of tattered maps, similar to the one I'd kept. That's when I saw it. One of the maps caught my eye, its edges singed and slightly crumpled. As I bent down to grab it, I noticed markings, crimson dots that form pathways directly correlating with the scratches I had seen on my own map. My heart raced as realization struck. Were these the previous travelers? Suddenly the door slammed shut behind me, and I whirled around, panic rising in my chest. Darkness enveloped me as I fumbled to open it, but it wouldn't budge. What did I stumble into? The sound of whispering filled the air, making my scalp prickle. Shadows danced along the walls, and I felt a chill wrap around me. I was not alone. I began to back away, the desperation in my legs rising as the whispers intensified, almost mocking me now. Then I realized that woman had been right. I had ventured down a road meant for others, and they were still here, waiting. Then everything went dark. I didn't know how long I stood there frozen in darkness, but the whispers became deafening. I felt something brush past me, a cold draft that sent shivers up my spine. My heart pounded as I stumbled backward, slamming into a wall. The moment I moved, the whispers hushed, turning into soft, almost curious murmurs. "Show yourself," I shouted, my voice more commanding than I felt. There was no reply, just the oppressive silence that enveloped me like a heavy blanket. I needed light. I needed to see. Feeling along the wall, I spotted the flickering flame of a candle just out of reach. My breath quickened as I moved toward it, my fingers trembling. It was an old candle, barely hanging on with a puddle of melted wax beneath it. As I lit it with my lighter, the small flame erupted, casting long shadows. "Still in the dark, are we?" a voice whispered from the far corner. I jumped and turned, squinting into the dim light. A figure emerged, an indistinct shape but undeniably human. "You look just like the others." "Who are you?" I demanded, my mind racing. Was this another traveler trapped by the same force? "Just another soul," the figure replied, a sly smile creeping across their face. You followed the map, didn't you? Did you think it would lead you somewhere safe? A wave of unease washed over me. What do you mean? The road you took, it claims people. They never really leave. We're all waiting. The stranger's eyes glinted in the candlelight, revealing depths of shadow where hope should have been. No, I said, shaking my head. You can't be serious. There has to be a way out. The figure took a step closer, and I noticed a glimmer of something around their neck. A keychain, heavy with rusty old keys. Perhaps, but those who came before you tried, and look where they ended up. My heart raced as the realization struck me with staggering force. The maps, the markings reflected the fate of others, stories of the lost. I was part of a cycle, one that I couldn't break. I won't end up like them, I insisted, more to convince myself than to challenge the stranger. Oh, but you already are, they replied, laughter spilling from their lips like shattered glass. You must decide. Will you join us in the darkness, or will you be the one to break free? Before I could respond, the candle flickered violently as the whispers crescendoed again, a haunting chorus urging me to surrender. The shadows thickened, swirling around me. The walls closed in, and panic seized me. Then in a sudden rush the candle extinguished. I gasped in the pitch black, my mind racing. I felt the floor shift beneath me, and then I tripped, tumbling into the unknown. As I lay in the darkness, I heard the voice again, soft and insistent. Find the light, before it's too late. Then everything went quiet. I don't know how long I was down there, but the silence felt suffocating. My mind was a jumbled mess, desperately trying to piece together what had just happened. The words, "Find the light, before it's too late," echoed in my head like a ticking clock. I sat up, my hands fumbling along the cold ground, grasping for anything solid. The floor was uneven, littered with debris I couldn't quite identify. The air was stale and smelled of dampness. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. Just focus, I muttered under my breath. Suddenly a faint glimmer caught my eye. It flickered like a dying star in the vast dark. I maneuvered toward it, heart racing again. As I got closer, I saw it was an old lantern, the glass cracked but still intact. My fingers wrapped around the cool metal, and I felt a surge of hope. I searched for a way to light it. There had to be some fuel left. With trembling hands, I turned the knob, and to my surprise, the wick flared to life. A soft glow filled the space around me, revealing what I hadn't noticed before. The walls were covered with faded photographs and scribbled messages. Each image showed people, faces filled with expressions of horror and longing. Some were familiar, others completely foreign. In the corner of the room, a mirror hung, clouded and stained. What kind of place is this? I whispered to myself. My eyes darted to the messages. They were warnings. Don't go further, one read. The light is a trap, another warned. Panic gripped me. Why hadn't I listened to the figure from earlier? As I examined the images more closely, I recognized one. It was a photo of my friend Sarah, taken during a road trip we took years ago. My stomach dropped. How was she connected to this? Did she end up here too? A noise echoed behind me, a low, chilling chuckle. I whipped around, the lantern shaking in my grasp. The figure from before took shape again, stepping out from the shadows. Ah, you found it. The mirror shows more than you know, doesn't it? Get away from me, I shouted, holding the lantern out like a weapon. The flickering light threw shadows across the walls, making the figure look even more sinister. Oh, but you're already trapped, they said calmly, a mockery of compassion in their eyes. Every decision you make leads you deeper into this place. You saw her picture. Those are the choices you have. Faces telling stories of despair. You could join them, or what? I interrupted, desperation clawing at my throat. Or you could learn the truth. Are you ready to face what you might find? Their smile widened, a sharp contrast to the darkness surrounding us which felt like it was closing in. With every ounce of my willpower, I took a step back, heart pounding. I refused to let the fear take hold. "I'm not afraid of you," I declared, even as doubt threatened to creep in. Suddenly there was a loud crash from deeper within the shadows. I flinched and turned my head, confusion washing over me. That didn't come from the figure, but something, or someone, else was here with us. My stomach twisted into knots. "What was that?" I demanded. The figure's smile faded. "The others don't take kindly to visitors. You need to decide now." I felt the urgency in their voice. I couldn't stay here any longer. With a deep breath, I picked my path. As I turned to flee from the figure, my heart raced. I dashed deeper into the shadows, the lantern's glow flickering behind me. I didn't know where I was going, but I couldn't stay in that room. The sense of dread settled heavily in my chest, urging me to escape. The corridor before me twisted and turned. The walls seemed to close in, pressing me forward. I stumbled over what felt like broken furniture and debris, barely able to keep my footing. The air felt thicker with every step, clinging to my skin, and I shivered despite the warmth of the lantern's light. The loud crash echoed again, closer this time. Panic bubbled up within me. "Who's there?" I called, my voice trembling. My question hung in the air, unanswered. The silence was deafening. Then I spotted another dim light ahead. It danced eagerly in the distance, almost taunting me. I pressed on, desperate for anything that might lead me to an exit. As I approached, I realized the light was coming from another lantern, but this one was different. It was larger, brighter, and more polished, illuminating a small alcove. When I reached it, I was met with a larger collection of photographs plastered across the walls. These images were vibrant but unsettling, as if taken in real time. The faces looked alive, but the expressions ranged from blissful joy to sheer terror. I recoiled slightly, the warmth of the lantern in my hand feeling suddenly inadequate against the chill creeping up my spine. Then I noticed something. One photograph captured a moment at a beach. My family was there, but the faces were obscured, their features altered slightly, like a bad dream. I blinked, trying to make sense of why their eyes seemed to follow me as I moved. My breath caught in my throat. What did this mean? Why did this feel so hauntingly familiar? Flickering emotions churned inside me, pulling me toward a memory I couldn't fully grasp. Suddenly, the figure from before emerged from the shadows once more. A warped grin plastered across their face. "You came looking for the light, but did you think it would lead you home?" Their voice dripped with mockery. I backed away, but my foot hit a floorboard that creaked loudly beneath me. "Leave me alone," I shouted, the edges of my voice tinged with disbelief. "Oh, but you're already entangled in this web," they replied, reaching out as if to touch the photographs. "Every choice you've made echoes in this place. You can run from me, but you cannot escape your past, and it's waiting to be unearthed." Darkness swarmed around me like a wave. A sudden, frantic flurry of movement behind me made me spin again. This time, I wasn't alone. A shadowy figure loomed, its presence heavy and suffocating, even more real than the figure in front of me. I thought of Sarah's picture and grew more terrified. "No, please, I just want to get out of here." But the figure's chilling laugh wrapped around me. And that's precisely what they all said. In that moment, as the two figures converged, I realized the truth. Something inside this place was linking me to my past, and I had to confront it before time ran out. I had to find out who and what these shadows truly were. As I turned to run, a heavy hand grasped my shoulder, and a voice whispered close to my ear. "You shouldn't have come here." I gasped, freezing in place as the hand tightened against my shoulder. The voice was low, almost gentle, but I felt its weight inside my chest. I willed myself to turn around, facing whatever monster lay behind me, but my legs felt like lead. With a sudden surge of adrenaline, I broke free from the grip and stumbled forward. The lantern flickered wildly, casting erratic shadows on the walls. I could hear the figures behind me laughing, a cacophony that pierced through the oppressive silence of the hall. I dashed down the corridor, the distant glow of the larger lantern still beckoning me. My mind raced as I ran, thoughts tumbling over one another. What did they want from me? Why did they keep talking about my past? I didn't have time to dwell. I needed to escape the grip of those shadows. I needed to understand why the photographs haunted me. I skidded into another room, this one filled with old furniture cloaked in dust and cobwebs. It looked like a forgotten sitting area. My breath came in quick bursts, and I fought to steady myself. I caught a glimpse of a mirror hanging crooked on the wall. A fleeting reflection caught my eye, the figure standing behind me. My heart dropped. "No," I choked out, spinning around to face the empty space. But when I turned, that mirror revealed more than just my own terrified face. It showed glimpses of other moments. I saw my family, all smudged and distorted, like phantoms caught between worlds. Was this house somehow trapping them too? I felt a pull towards the reflective surface as though it was inviting me in. Just as I stepped closer, a shattering crash erupted behind me. Glass splintered into countless shards, and I turned to see another dark figure looming in the wreckage of what had been a door. Fear flooded my veins. "Did you think you could run?" It hissed, its eyes glinting with malice. "Every step you take brings you closer to the truth." I couldn't take another second. I sprinted past the mirror, breathing heavily. The echoing laughter had transformed into a chorus of whispers, each one taunting me, reminding me of secrets I couldn't remember. Then I stumbled upon an open window at the end of the hall, the moonlight streaming in like an escape route. I rushed toward it, my heart pounding. Just as I reached out for the ledge, a chilling voice called from behind. "You can't leave without accepting your fate." I hesitated, my fingers brushing against the cool glass. The air outside felt liberating, but I couldn't shake the feeling that if I left now, I might never understand. I turned back to face the shadowy figures, their forms shifting, faces indistinct but filled with a mix of sorrow and malice. Then everything went dark. The lantern flickered one last time before it extinguished completely. A wave of panic surged within me. I was engulfed in a suffocating darkness, the shadows closing in, and I realized I hadn't escaped yet. The real confrontation was just beginning. I jolted awake. The darkness was thick, almost tangible. My heart raced in the eerie stillness, and I strained to hear something, anything. The laughter had faded, replaced by an unsettling silence that felt like a weight pressing down. Gradually, my eyes adjusted. Shapes emerged from the gloom, and I realized I was still in the sitting area. The mirrored wall loomed in front of me, and the shattered door gaped nearby like an open wound. I felt the cold crawl up my spine. What had just happened? My breath hitched as I clambered to my feet. I needed to get out. I needed a plan. There was something about this house, something dark and wicked, and I felt it locked within me. With cautious steps, I approached the mirror again. This time I wasn't afraid as much as curious. I reached out, touching the surface lightly, and an image rippled through the glass. A gathering storm swirled on the other side. I peered in, squeezing my eyes to focus. Faces began to materialize, familiar faces twisted in anguish. Suddenly, a piercing scream cut through the silence, making me recoil. I stumbled back and nearly knocked over a dusty chandelier that hung precariously overhead. I needed to find out what had happened. Why were they in there? I felt as if they were pleading with me. I stepped back and surveyed the room for any possible escape. My gaze fell on the broken door again, the edges splintered and jagged. The darkness behind it seemed to writhe like something alive. What lay beyond that threshold? I needed to know. Before I could think too much, I pushed through the wreckage. The world outside felt surreal. A narrow staircase spiraled down into shadow, and I heard echoing footsteps below. Someone, or something, was down there. The whispers from earlier returned, swirling in my mind. "What truth?" I whispered to myself, clutching the railing tightly as I descended. Each creak of the old wood sent shivers down my spine. I had to silence it. I needed answers before that thing could find me. My feet landed softly on a stone floor that smelled damp and musty. Flickering candles lined the walls, illuminating grotesque paintings that seemed to follow me. My pulse quickened as I scanned the room, and that's when I noticed an open chest on the far side overflowing with dusty journals. Each spine seemed to whisper to me, beckoning. Ignoring the sense that I was being watched, I hurried toward it. I flipped through a dusty one, skimming the faded words, names, dates, events I couldn't quite understand. But then, one name made my throat dry up. Elena. I froze. The gut-wrenching realization paralyzed me. That was my mother's name. My stomach twisted as I continued to read, heart pounding. The last entry was dated just a week before I arrived. Then a cold draft swept through the room and the candle flames flickered violently. I heard breathing, heavy and deliberate. Panic surged as I turned, but there was nothing there, just darkness. "Who's there?" I called out, voice shaking. The new threat was undeniable. I felt it close in, surrounding me, suffocating. I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever had a hold on this place was connected to me and my family. I needed to unravel this and fast. I turned back to the journal, determined. But just as I began to read again, a shadow loomed in the doorway. I held my breath, knowing I couldn't escape this one. "Looking for answers?" a voice echoed, chilling me to the bone. I didn't answer, the air tightening around me as the figure stepped into the flickering candlelight. It was a woman, a mirror image of my mother, though her eyes burned with a hollow emptiness I didn't recognize. "Elena," I breathed, hoping the name would shatter whatever veil separated us. She tilted her head, lips curling into a thin smile. "So the past has decided to return," she said, a haunting lilt to her voice. "Your choices echo here, just as mine once did." I took a step back, the horror settling in. "What happened to you? Why are you here?" "Because I followed the map, just like you." Her eyes glinted with sadness, a truth I couldn't entirely comprehend. "I believed it would lead me back to safety, back to the joys I lost." Every instinct within me warned that her smiles held secrets. But it doesn't work like that, does it? The weight of the moment enveloped me. "What did you find?" "Nothing but despair," she responded, her voice wavering. I loitered in the shadows, just waiting for someone to come through and relieve the burden of choice that weighs upon this place. But every traveler who believes they can solve it becomes part of the darkness instead. Is there a way out? My heart raced as desperation clawed at me. I didn't want any of this, I just wanted to know. "Knowing has its price," she said, stepping closer. "You can join me, become one with the whispers, or you can break the cycle. But breaking it means facing the truth about your own life." The truth about what? I struggled to think clearly. Was there some dark, unspeakable choice I had made that brought me here or connected me to this fate? "Life is tangled with decisions, each path trailing behind like shadows," she said, the depth of her pain palpable. "I regret every step I took down the road of distractions. Do you truly wish to understand?" I hesitated. The fear whispered to tread lightly, that uncovering too much could swallow me whole. But I felt a flicker of hope. If I could face this, maybe I could free us both. "I need to. What do I have to do?" The candle flames flickered ominously, shadows stretching across the room. "You must confront the shadows of your past," she whispered, eyes glistening as if she bore my memories within her. "They are reflections of choices you've made, the lives you've touched and the roads you've taken. Only when you face them will you find the way to freedom." I took a deep breath, steadying my resolve. "Show me." In an instant, the shadows coalesced into shapes, memories manifesting before me. Each figure was a ghost of a moment, a piece of my past woven into their existence. I flinched as Sarah appeared, eyes wide with surprise and terror. "Help!" she screamed, reaching out yet seeming unable to cross the threshold into the light of the lantern. The agony in her voice made my heart shatter. "Help us!" Images of my family surfaced too, faces trapped in anguish. Could my decisions have led them here? Was this a twisted version of what could have been? I cried out, feeling my own choices echo around me, weaving through space like a tangled web. No, I didn't want this. I just wanted to find a way out for all of us. Through the sea of anguish, my mother's voice cut through, immediate and firm. "You must choose, my dear. Do you step into the darkness, Or do you bring the light forward? Panic surged within me. I was on the precipice of understanding, yet fear prickled at my skin, urging me to flee. But glancing at Sarah, at my family, my heart ached for their release. I want to help you, I declared, my voice stronger now, filled with purpose. Tell me how. Face the shadows, my mother urged. Reveal the choices that brought you here, and forgive yourself. The room around me began to tremble, caught in the weight of my question. I squeezed my eyes shut, recalling the paths I had taken, the decisions that had shaped my journey like so many winding roads. All the missed calls, all the lost time, were they truly as irreversible as they felt? Forgiveness, I whispered, feeling the warmth of the lantern's glow start to ebb. I have to let go of what burdens me. As I opened my eyes, the shadows intensified. They swelled like a dark tide threatening to engulf me. The faces twisted in anguish, but somewhere within that turmoil, a flicker of clarity emerged. I accept my past, I shouted, the words roaring from the depths of my soul. I let go of the pain. The canvas of darkness began to unravel. Light pierced through, illuminating the shapes and dissolving the torturous echoes of despair. The figures of Sarah and my family flickered, beginning to fade. You can break the cycle. My mother's voice lingered, calm now but resolute. With a final surge of light, a pathway opened up, shimmering in front of me like an invitation calling me home. I took a step forward, a rush of love enveloping me. As the darkness receded, I thought I heard the whispers turning to a soft song, a melody calling me back to the living world. Yet doubt still lingered as I crossed the threshold. What did I leave behind? Would those shadows ever find peace? And more importantly, were the paths I had chosen truly behind me? As I stepped into the blinding light, a question fizzled in the air. Was I truly free, or just on the cusp of another road? I could feel the weight of the past still tugging at my heart, whispers dancing on the edges of my mind. Yet, the light felt promising. A new beginning, filled with uncertainty but also with hope. I emerged into the world outside, filled with a sense of unease and relief intertwined. I was out. I was free. But as I stood on the threshold, glancing back at the shrouded darkness, I knew this story was far from over.